Up YouTube? Welcome once again to Dragon's Dojo Gaming. I am Andrew Sellers, and I'm about to bring you all my deck profile for Flagburg. So, I played in a locals at Lakeland with this just recently. It was actually on the exact same day I went undefeated with Vowing Saber in a premium tournament. The owner, Mona, up there, had a standard tournament after the premium one. And as those of you that go to Lakeland know, Mona and Chad both hold premium and standard on the exact same day on every Saturday. Round one, I went up against Heroes. I got game one due to... Game one, the whole match was back and forth, but I ended up persevering. Round two, game two, he ended up beating me. Pretty much the same thing happened in game two as game one, except with him winning. And then game three, I won from getting an early game over trigger, which was kind of funny. He also had a bunch of grade 3s in his hand and didn't have any perfect guards. So, round two, I fought against my good buddy Chase Knight with his, I forget what it's called exactly, I just know that it's pretty much the Neo-Nectar of Stoicheia. And I 2-0'd him. Game one, I got 2 early game crits, and those pretty much got me the win. And game two, in game two, the game lasted for a while, but I ended up winning with lots of cards left in my hand. The whole match in general wasn't really all that close, but I overall had fun against Chase. And despite that he lost against me, I still think he's a really good card fighter overall. Plus, he just wanted to have fun that day. If he was in the mood to take it seriously and wanted to play a deck that he wanted to win with, the match would have been a whole lot tougher for both of us. And then round four, I fought against Connor Sintra. He was using Record of Ragnarok against me. No, that was round 4. Round 3, I fought against a dude named Zach from Triple Sleeve who plays Barrow Magnus. Game 1, he beat me. Game 2, I won against him from a double crit that he guarded for 2 to pass against. And then game 3, we went into time, and then he ended up beating me. He's honestly a really good Barrow Magnus player. And funny enough, Barrow Magnus is one of the only 2 decks I haven't won against in a tournament match yet. The one deck besides that I haven't won against in a tournament match yet is Gravidia. But I'll get those decks eventually. Though I'm gonna try to not get cocky against those decks. But yeah, like I said, against Connor, I 2-1'd him. He was playing Record of Ragnarok. Round 1, it was back and forth, and I ended up persevering. Game 2, the same thing happened, but in his favor. Funny enough, in Game 3, he swung at my Vanguard while I was at 4 damage with his Vanguard. I chose to take the attack, and he ended up not getting a crit. And I believe he had he used up 3 of them while only having 1 left in his deck. So he had a really low chance of getting that crit. And then I ended up making it 3rd place. It was a fun tournament. Now, time to get started with the deck profile. I shall start off with the ride line. Standard Stoicheia starter, Rancor Chain, Husk Dragon, and then Flagburg. Originally, I played the Sailor Ride line in this deck, but then I switched to the Zorga Ride line because the Zorga Ride line's just so much better in this deck. It just provides so much more value. Because I play quite a few orders in this deck, and I'm more likely to open up with one than to not open up with one, and yeah. It's just so much better than the Sailor Ride line in my opinion. Now for the triggers. First up, we got 4 heal. I'm not really too big about the effect heals in this deck. When it comes to this deck, I just prefer the 15 heals. That's just me though. Next, I run 8 crit. Oops, accidentally dropped one. So, whether you're running 7 or 8 crit in this deck, I highly recommend that you use 4 of her. It's self-explanatory why you play a playset of her, why you run a playset of her. Next up, 3 draws. I do not have the 10k draws yet, but I'm gonna get the 10k shield draws yet, but I will get them eventually. So until I get them, I'm just running the vanilla draw as a placeholder. Finally, the Overtrigger. Self-explanatory why this card's in the deck. Hashtag I still think Overtriggers need to get banned. Now for the grade 1s. First up, 3 regular PG, and along with that, I am running a grade 1 of the Order PG, Elemental Sanctitude. Elemental Sanctitude is just such a convenient card to have in the deck, especially in the Flagburg matchup. With this card, instead of having to, if the opponent were to use Flagburg's 3 or more guard skill, you could just use this instead of having to use a regular PG, so that you don't have to dump more cards in your hand to stop the attack. I've managed to discover that thanks to Ezekiel Zierce using his Flagburg deck against me. Next up, 4 copies of Prize Trident. In my opinion, a whole playset of him is absolutely necessary in the deck. He's the only counter charger you've got, and he's real convenient to have as a counter charger at situations where you need him. Next up, 4 copies of the Order card Spiritual Body Condensation. Eventually, I'm going to be picking up 1 more copy of the card, but for now, I'm just running it at 2, because it's all I have. Thanks to this card, you Soul Blast 1, choose a unit from your drop zone whose grade level is equal to or less than your Vanguard and Superior Call It, and that unit gets plus 5k till end of turn. Great Order card in my opinion. And now for grade 2s. First up, we got 4 copies of Ascendant's Assault. His skill is when your other rearguard attacks after he's attacked already, you counterblast 1 and restand him. He's basically one of your restanders in the deck to help get Flagburg to attack more. Next up, 2 copies of Aggress Blue Dragon. After Aggress Blue has attacked a rearguard, you can Soul Blast 1 and restand it. So the one upside to using him over Ascendant's Assault is that you don't have to counterblast to use it. But overall, between him and Ascendance, I prefer Ascendance because because you don't have to attack any specific unit in order to restand a sentence. You actually do for regrets blow. And finally, for grade 2s, 2 copies of the order card Nectar of Sensationalism. So, when you use this card, for every 5 cards that are currently in your drop zone before sending it, choose one of your units and it gets plus 5,000 power. And if you have 15 or more in drop, that unit gets a crit. I've used it on both the Sentence Assault and on Inlet Pulse, and doing that has brought wonders for the deck. Heck, in game two of my match against Chase, using this card on a Sentence Assault has actually won me game 2 against Chase. Very good card. Now for grade 3s, 3 copies of the main unit of the main unit of the deck, Flagburg. His skill, as many of you know, is when it attacks a Vanguard, you counterblast 1. If his attack is the 3rd or more, you draw a card. If it's 4 or more, your opponent chooses 2 of their rear guards and retires them, and if it's 5 or more, it gets plus 10k until end of battle. And until the end of that battle, your opponent would have to call 3 or more cards from their hand if they wanted to guard against Flagburg's attack. Next up, 4 copies of what in my opinion is the best card in the deck, Inlet Pulse Dragon. His skill says, at the end of the battle, he attacked a Vanguard. That's grade 3 or higher. You Soul Blast 1 and restand Inlet Pulse. And at the end of your turn, if the total amount of attacks you've done this turn is 4 or more, you send Inlet Pulse to the soul and draw a card. So yeah, the card's amazing because you get to have 2 attacks with him, and he's also convenient to have as soul coverage and hand coverage. Next, 4 copies of Shielding Cannon Dragon. Another one of the best cards in the deck. Thanks to his skill, if he's in your center back row, like right behind your Vanguard, you can, and if it's the beginning of your battle phase, you counterblast 1 and give him plus 10,000 for the remainder of the turn. Yeah, overall, he's a great promo card. And finally, 1 copy of Advance of the Great Cause. He's there to have as another order, and it's as another blitz order, and its skill says if it's placed on Guardian Circle with Flagburg as your Vanguard or Rearguard. Well, specifically Flagburg, period. Whether it's on Vanguard or Rearguard. And Flagburg gets plus 2,000 power till the end of the turn. Great card overall, in my opinion. And that is it for my Flagburg deck profile. I hope you all really liked it, and once again, please like and subscribe for more content, I'll be sure to keep bringing more whenever I can. And have a nice day, everyone. Peace out.